Motivation is one of those things that a lot of resellers struggle with who are brand new to this industry and brand new to all of the processes and protocols and procedures and just all the stuff that you need to do to run a white label reseller business. If you haven't done this before, if you've worked as an employee and you've worked in an environment where you're surrounded by coworkers and there's a manager above you and there's maybe subordinates below you, and you're in an environment where it's all sort of mutually sustaining, and then suddenly you're thrust into an environment where you're an entrepreneur and you're doing everything on your own, well, motivation can be scarce, right? You can get lonely, you can get bored, you can, find yourself in a position where you're not able to cope with your day-to-day trials and tribulations. I have seen this. I've seen people literally who had every single thing going for them: great charm, great charisma, intelligent, everything they needed technologically, and yet they failed. And I always would go, why? Years ago, I was like, why? How could you fail? All you had to do was market and sell. And what I found was, for those people, what it really was they had a failure to adapt. And many times I attributed it to, they went into business too quickly. They went into being an entrepreneur too quickly. And that's why you'll hear me say a lot of the time, I think people should ease into this business, right? I mean, I think you should come into this business, don't get me wrong. But jumping in, going from an 80-hour work week at some company to just saying, I'm sick of it, and quitting your job and jumping in this business, a lot of people can't believe it, but they find it more stressful to sit and work on their own after a little while, because they're not used to and they failed to adapt. I think people adapt slowly. I don't think people adapt all at once to new environments and new types of stress and new workloads. Sure, there are gifted people who have abilities to do that, but a lot of people fail. They fail to adapt. They fail to, not rise to the occasion, but they fail to be able to grow the sort of mental muscle necessary to grind it out on their own. Right? They find that they are dependent upon a lot of the things they said they hated, right? Having a boss means you don't have to think. Somebody else just tells you what to do, and that's it. So you have your marching orders. It's much easier to function that way in some ways. Or, having support personnel that help them out with things, having to maintain their own schedules and maintain their own calendars. And the main thing of all that I think motivates people and what can get you through all that is financial success. I think that if you find financial success, you will grow the mental muscle. You will, push ahead. And that's why I wrote that article that I did, that post that I did about that, because really fundamentally, if you can adapt to growing your business and you can fill your day with prospects and leads and demos and work of that kind, you can fight your way through this. Anybody can, I think. And I've seen people, like I've said, from 18 to 80 succeed in this industry, come in, get themselves set up, at least with Rocket Driver. And I've seen them go out there and become successful in one way or another, and to what level or another. I'm not saying they founded major mega agencies or anything like that, but they were successful. They sold deals, they processed them successfully, they had clients, and they were working and, doing what they needed to do. So I've seen everything from high school kids to, many years retired seniors function in this industry. But the thing that all these people did was they took their time, in terms of, they spent their time, I should say, marketing. They spent their time building their client list. They spent their time getting themselves together to be able to work, right? They did not sit at their computer calling a list all day long, of prospects that they bought. They didn't fill their time with drudge work, right? With drudgery and boring stuff. They went out and they took my advice, they marketed locally. They formed partnerships with local businesses. They went to home shows, trade shows. They went out in their space locally, and, they pitched their tent there, and that's where they worked. And so their days were filled with meetings with people, and it was filled with things that gave them a new social cohesion to their life, right? It wasn't like they dropped out of society to sit in a bunker and work like a hermit, okay? I think that that's another aspect of this. A main primary sort of problem people have is they go from, over socialized anxiety to the under socialized stress of being a hermit. That doesn't work. So my advice to everybody who's, coming in this industry and beginning to deal with self-motivation issues is to really take a look at the structure of your business and the structure of your day, how you're spending your time. Get out there and market locally. Right. I know that, a lot of people have dreams of national success or global success or building a global agency. They have these sort of grandiose visions of delusions of grandeur in some cases, right? Maybe they're not delusions, but they're certainly dreams of grandeur. But the truth is, you need to start somewhere, and starting locally and building up your agency that way, it's been very successful. It's tried and true. It's proven. People do it all the time. Just like electricians, just like doctors, just like lawyers, you build a local client base, right? And you go out there, and after you've built up your local client base, well, then you can move into being regional and national and whatever else. But you need to have that basis of clients, that experience in selling. You need to get all these things down, and also, get the marbles out of your mouth, be able to do your pitch correctly, learn from that experience. So go out there, form local partnerships, go to home shows, go to trade shows, go to local events, knock doors if you have to. It's not that big a deal. You can't hang up on a handshake. Go out there and, get yourself the local clients that you need to build that client base. And from there, you can be successful. That's going to keep you motivated. Watching money go in the bank account, watching sales get processed, that's going to keep you motivated. All the other stuff, all the gimmicks and weird techniques people, push out there, I don't know about those. I don't subscribe much to that, the self-help guru, walking on broken glass, walking on coals type of stuff. I'm not saying that stuff doesn't work in the short term, but I haven't seen it work long term. What I have seen is a logical business structure that fits a person's personality and they're able to follow. That works for people. And I've seen it work again and again and again. Anyhow, that's my advice. Get out there, market yourself.